On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1976. We're going to be taking a look at Return to Forever, and they're going to be performing Sorceress. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, recently I have received a lot of requests to take a look at Corea following the sad news of his passing recently. I've also received a lot of requests for Meola as well. And I did have a look at Al a few years ago now, so it's good to get something that's a little bit more up to date. We will get the guitar out, but we'll also appreciate Chick's playing ability, as well as the whole band here, because this is the old grey whistle test, so it's all live and just top level playing from four guys that are just so good, top level on their instruments independently, and you can really just sit back and enjoy this. But let's get the guys up on screen and see how they get on. I'm just going to jump in here. As always, the link to this performance video is going to be in the description below, so you guys can click on that to check it out without me interrupting it. It is one of the longer performance videos that we've looked at just under 8 minutes in length, but there is so much in there. First of all, straight off the bat, the groove, just the feel of this performance. You can see that every musician on stage is so into the groove and in the pocket on the drums. Lenny White here having such feel And you can tell that everyone just links into that. It's such a collective effort here. Let me also mention Stanley Clarke on bass, because they are the foundation, Stanley and Lenny, and everything's built on top of that. But when you've got players at this level, they are just in a totally different league. When you're talking about probably individual prodigies when they were kids, and then this is what happens when you put them on stage. And we are going to be taking a look at what's going on here in a very rough sense. We're not going to be getting too deep into it, but I just want to show you guys a little bit of the guitar, but just overall the way that it's been put together, the way that Chick plays. When he goes off into a solo section, he always returns to that tonal center, to the root note, and having this riff where we start, and we're going to be in B flat here, and the guitar sound is really clean. Al is just taking a little bit of volume off, but then adding some on when he gets into his lead work, and the bass, I think we hear the C and the C sharp, so it means that we get this like that. So you hear those two notes together. It's really subtle, but it has such a dramatic effect on the sound. It just takes your ear to that different place. And when I'm talking about that tonal center of the B flat, it means that pretty much throughout this whole performance, it doesn't really matter where you put it. You can be playing your B, and it's always going to fit in there. It's always going to be fine. Just so you can see the guitar neck now, the riff, when I was playing in the lower octave, we had this like that. And when I barred that first finger, that's where you get the C to the C sharp as well as the G to the G sharp. But an octave higher was this, like that. And when we get into the lead that's being played here, it is so cool. I mean, Al Di Meola is such a top level guitarist from every single aspect: technical ability, melody, just throwing together really cool lines. And if you have got your guitars out, if you get into your B flat minor pentatonic shape 1, here I'm playing my B minor 7th, but you'll be hearing all kinds of notes that are going on here that aren't necessarily within your minor pentatonic. We've got little lines and little changes in tone that Al is applying. And like then, you just automatically open up your volume a little bit more to get a little bit more of that distorted sound on the guitar, because that's what Al's got on his amp, but then he just plays with that volume to take off a little bit of that distortion for the rhythm work. But then when he gets into the lead, he just really does open up the gates on that volume. So like I said, if you get into your pentatonic shape 1, you can start to access these notes, but remember where they are and almost have them as a layer over the top of that minor pentatonic shape, because it means that when you come back to, you've now got these extra notes. That kind of thing. There's some really cool lines going on here. I'm not going to be breaking them all down because it would take years, but just throwing together lines like that, rather than going to your, that first finger of your minor pentatonic, which would be your 6th fret, and in this case just barring all the way across there, but going down to, just take that first finger down 1 fret, and that's where you'll start to find these lines that are so cool, a little bit jazzy, but then blending that with the major scale that I did, a little line like that. The other thing that you'll find is the way that Al, he'll play something really melodic. He'll have this, all of those bluesy lines that are just so cool when they're thrown together. A lot of technique in there, by the way, and getting your downstrokes and upstrokes with the right hand is really important. Another thing that Al will do is turn from those really melodic lines suddenly into something that's going to melt your face, and having this that kind of thing. Just obviously a lot better than that, but just like a machine gun that hits you in the face because of his technical ability to throw these lines together and then get back into something that's going to be really melodic and spending a little bit more time on throwing together just notes that you're not really expecting. And it is just top level technical ability here, especially when you start looking at that alternate picking and the way that Al throws together these runs so seamlessly. You get such a distinct and clear sound from his runs because of his ability with that pick. But let's get back into the performance. I'm just going to jump in here. First off, just the technical ability on the piano here from Chick is just different level. And that's what I mean, just top level playing here on every single instrument. But getting into his solo there, I do want to point out, I mean, this video could go on for years, but I want to point out the way that Chick goes off that beaten path, but then you know that he's coming back. And I am going to have to rewind it a little bit so that we can get to hear his solo sections, and hopefully I can get it back to the right point. But have another little listen, because when he gets into that solo where he just takes you on a journey, you then know when it's coming back. And I'll try and give an example of what I mean. And the way there that we go back to the B flat, that tonal center, he returns there. And I'm going to play that through again to try and give you guys an idea. This is the blending of the genres. Sometimes you have jazz that is really off the beaten path and you go on a journey for a very long time to the point where people lose the relevance of what's being played to the original music that you heard. Whereas here, with Chick, the art is to always go back to that B flat, and if you are a musician yourself, you can feel yourself going back to it and when it's going to happen, and Chick just takes you there every single time. But I'm going to play these B flats so that you guys can hear the relevance of it, and then when Chick goes off-piste on a bit of a journey, and then when we come back. Hopefully you could hear that, where we go, and we're back to B flat. When I raise my hand, that's where we went off. And you might be able to tell the difference between that break off from the root note and the key and the B flat that we were in before, because obviously the rest of the band are staying there. But that is what jazz is all about, taking it to a totally different place and the great jazz players will always bring you back and take you on a journey, but not leave you out there. They're always going to have relevance in their playing, and that is definitely what we got there. Let's have a listen to the next section. And there, I just kind of played the B flat to show and to give you a guide as to where Chick is returning to. I'm not sure where we got to in the performance previously, but let's get back into it. Now we're driving forward with the rhythm a little bit more action on that snare. The drum kit's a little bit more open dynamically, but the groove is still in there. That is the key, that even if you've gone to double time, keeping that groove consistent is so difficult, but that's exactly what Lenny's doing here. Let's get back into it. Love that. Just taking it somewhere different again, musically, listening to that. You're just expecting the G sharp, but going down. And then resolving again to the octave B flat. Really cool stuff. Al is all over the vibrato as well, total control, getting those notes to sing. And listen to the way that we're still staying faithful to melody. There are lines here, there are hooks here as well, that's making this type of jazz and jazz fusion accessible, and you can understand this, and I'm sure that people that don't even play instruments can get something out of this because of the relevance that the musicians are giving everything they play by staying true to melody. And it's just great to listen to these guys just work this out live. And there we have it. When I mentioned earlier about staying true to melody and putting hooks in there, the way that it's been composed to go full circle so that we go back to the riff, again, it's just writing something in that's going to be familiar so that you always go back to that familiar place where we started, we're back into that riff. But Chick throws in a B, not a B flat, so it means that anything that he's playing has a slightly more uncomfortable sound because he's got a note in there that shouldn't be in there. We're just a semitone out of where the rest of the band are, but he's still playing that minor seventh sound over the top. I've just rewound it to the beginning of the video to point out where that B comes in, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it. So just for that point where I raise my hand, that's where that extra note comes in, and you'll be able to feel the difference. Even if you can't necessarily hear the difference or know the notes that are being played or what the chord is, you'll be able to sense that something has gone slightly differently and makes you a little bit uneasy. Just to throw in there as well, that by the looks of it, the way that Al's playing, he's barring that first finger and sliding up as the bass is. So we've got this like that. It's really subtle, but that you might be able to hear those two when he's playing, just with a little slide up there. Just a word on Chick to finish, because he's one of those guys that had such a long and successful career, and compositionally as well as a totally different ability to be able to write well. And we're talking about a guy who won 23 Grammys. I think he was nominated for over 60. So just a prolific writer, performer, and I know that he just kept performing throughout his whole life as well. But such an impressive artist in his own right, but then playing with so many artists and collaborating. But thank you guys for requesting this video for me to take a look at, both in regards to Al and Chick. It is one of those that you could spend years breaking it down because there's so much going on here from a musical perspective as well, going in so many different directions. But if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below, and I'll see you guys at the next one.